Come to the inaugural event of Women of Faith in the Workplace. And this is something that has kind of been a whirlwind in the making, but it also is something that's been stirring for a very, very long time. And so I kind of want to give you a little bit of a background of really just a personal perspective. If you want to hear about how this actual meeting came to be, then on the webpage that we created for Women of Faith in the Workplace, you can read the story about a lunch meeting that actually happened right here in Jason's Deli, and Tia Williams was at that meeting with me. And you can read some details on that, but I'm not going to go into detail about that right now. What I really want to share with you is where my heart really was in all of this from the get-go. I would say that personally, I've been on a journey to figure out how to not isolate my faith from my professional world. And for many, many years, I have done that. I have been very intimate in my relationship with the Lord. And then I have been very passionate about my career and the things that God has called me to do. And I've had a very difficult time merging those and not isolating them and making them two different parts of my life. And so that's my own personal story that I come here today with. And I feel like over the past year or year and a half, I've actually made some changes, and I've been intentional about not doing that so much and really working to not do that. Also, I've carried a burden for women for a long time, probably ever since I've been in the working world, and felt led to be a working woman. I've carried a burden for women who feel like they carry guilt or shame or confusion about their identity as a woman of faith in the working world. And that is a component of where all of this came from. Then, moving forward from there, I have had countless conversations with women in the working world that have told me about their own experience of feeling isolated, feeling like they don't belong, like they don't really have anybody to talk to about their experience of how their faith and their life in the workplace really relates to one another and how to reconcile those things. And a lot of women feel isolated, and they feel like they don't have the support that they wish that they had in that arena, from the church, from their community of believers, and that kind of thing. And then lastly, all of this conversation surfaced with leaders from the church that I attend, which is Riverside Community Church. And, I think that this is a result of the leaders from our church empowering me and Tia and Dorothy and other women within our church to go for it, to just, I met with our pastor and I said, this is something that I really care about. And I said, and I believe that there are women that need this support unit, that need a community of people that can relate to one another and find that place. And so, our pastor, after a handful of conversations, is go for it. And with no, not needing to put their mark or name or anything like that on it. It's more so about supporting the faith community and it not being around having to be marked by the name of the church. Does that make sense? So I'm very, very thankful for that. And that kind of brings us to this. And I believe that a wonderful way for us to have an experience is to put some strong women of faith who have lived out their careers navigating this in front of the rest of us, where we can all learn from one another. And so Henri Baskins is a personal friend of mine. She is a mentor of mine, and she is a person that is very passionate about the word of the Lord and about women being able to live that out in their daily lives. And so she's been just a huge encouragement for me, and I'm thrilled beyond belief to even have like a handful of people in the room that can share with Henri today, that Henri can share with them, and also for anyone that will listen to this at a later time, that they can hear from her as well. So without further ado, Miss Henri Baskins.
Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you. Well, for those of you, I think everyone was in the room when I came in. If you haven't passed in your card, I'll collect them now. The ones I've received so far has been very interesting. Challenges are a part of life. If you're not being challenged in some area, you're either doing the wrong thing or you have deliberately ignored the challenge. If you're going to grow, you're going to be challenged. What I want to share with you today, first of all, is the fact that as a Christian woman, sometimes I feel that I don't have the kind of support from other Christian women in my life. That was more so when I first got into the professional workplace than it is now, because some of the mores and some of the attitudes toward women in the workplace have changed quite a bit. But I'm up there in the stratosphere in age, and I love every moment of it. I have been richly blessed. There are times I walk through things I didn't think it was a blessing then. Now that I look back on it, I can see God's hands moving and stirring the waters for me. I didn't like being in the turbulent waters, but I realize now that it was turbulent because God was moving things. He was doing things. But that being said, not having that kind of support I thought I should have had back then left me feeling isolated, left me feeling like, okay, why am I doing this? Well, I knew why I was doing it. We needed the money. But besides that, why am I struggling like that? I just need to come in and put in my 8 hours and go home and not even worry about it. So I thought about, when I was first asked to do this, I said, what in the Bible epitomizes or tells me what a woman should be doing? What is a woman's true role? And guess where I came? Proverb 31. Okay? That really epitomizes a woman and all of her roles. And so, of course, I sent it to myself, and I didn't see it on my iPad, but I'm so glad that I printed it. Don't worry about it. It didn't come in. It didn't come in. But I did print it. So I'm going to read Proverbs 31, and then we're going to dissect it. And then we're going to look at some of the challenges that you handed in. And if you weren't here, I think I have more cards. If you'd write down at least two challenges you feel you have to endure or you encounter being a working woman, being in the workplace. Okay, Proverbs 31, we're going to start with verse 10. And this was instructions given to Solomon by his mom. Okay? It says, a wife of noble character who can find. She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She's like the merchant ships, bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it's still night. Okay, we'll talk about that later. She provides food for her family and portion for her female servants. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her task. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand, she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. The chick dress is really nice. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchant with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instructions is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her work bring her praise at the city gates. Now, when people talk about what's a woman's role, where should she be? You'll even have people tell you that a woman's role is at home. She's not to work outside the home. And let me tell you, I am not, absolutely not saying that if that's what a woman wants to do, then I feel that she can do that and she should do that. However, I do not believe that the Proverbs 31 woman tells us that a woman should not work outside the home. From all the things I saw that she did, she was outside the home quite a bit. She was in the marketplace. I thought it was very interesting when it talked about her husband. He bragged at the city gates while she was doing the work, while she was bringing in the money. Don't have any problems with that. Don't have any. If that's your marriage, that's fine. But let's look at the Proverb 31 woman and examine her a little bit. We can say she was in the marketplace. Would you agree with that? She was in the marketplace. She hired people to work in her home, and she paid them well. But she had hired help in the home. She provided for her family from the produce of her work. Apparently, she had several jobs. She was a crafter. She sold linens. She made things. She planted things. She had a vineyard. She had several jobs. And it appears to me that she excelled at them all. She was an entrepreneur and a real estate investor. I like that about her. You know, she considered a field before she purchased it. So she was an investor. She was involved, like I said, in craft, but it seems to me she did some negotiations as well. She knew how to negotiate with the merchants. And we talked about the fact that her husband and her children called her blessed, rose up and called her blessed. So to me, if this is the example of a woman of excellence, then we should not be afraid or embarrassed or guilty if God has opened the door for you to be in the workplace. Because this woman of excellence did the things that you're doing working outside of the home. But let's note, she worked outside the home, but she still took care of the home. Now, she was blessed in an environment where she made so much money, she could hire household help. I remember years ago, I was talking to a woman, and she was telling me about the fact that she'd never worked. In fact, this woman was a relative. She'd never worked outside the home. And she didn't understand why I was working outside the home, because my job was to take care of my husband. Well, I was very rebellious back then. I must tell you, I wasn't really saved. And my answer to her was, he could take care of himself, you know. But my mindset has changed. He did need taking care of. Okay. However, when we were struggling like we were struggling, for me to sit home and constantly sweep the floor when I could bring in funds to help us didn't make any sense. And this woman was really a relative. She was my aunt. And she was saying, you shouldn't be outside of the house. You should be in there working. You need to be cooking and cleaning. First of all, I don't like to cook. I don't like to cook. Never have, you know. And cleaning, I do because you have to do it, okay? I have friends who love them. I have friends who love cooking, who love cleaning. They live for a spotless house. I love them, and I said, God bless them, okay? God bless them. That is not my gift, and that is not my talent. And you need to be true to who you are. Because if you're not in the place God called you to be, and if God opened the door for you to be in the workplace so that you can share your faith in the workplace. You're not just in the workplace to earn money. Let's get that straight too. You're not just in the workplace to earn money. You're in the workplace so that you can be an influence on those who are Christians but need encouraging, those who are not Christians and need to meet Jesus up close and personal. That's why you're there. And oh, by the way, you get a salary. But we need to know what our purpose is and why we're there. So, whether you work due to your financial constraints or whether the Lord has just opened the door for you, first of all, we need to do it with integrity. We need to do it in honor, and we need to do it like the Proverb 31 woman did, in excellence. Whatever we do, let's do it in excellence. Christian women in the workplace that truly know Christ have an opportunity to reach people that may not be reached by any other means. How many of you work with people that don't go to church? Unchurched. See? Where's they going to hear the word? They're not going to turn on Christian television, you know that. Okay? So how are they going to hear the word? Now, when I say hear the word, share something else with you, a little personal aside. When I first got saved, nobody wanted to be around me because I was telling you were a sinner and you're going to hell. Everybody I met, I was so on fire. I was obnoxious. Nobody wanted to be with me, you know, because I was just that. Even other Christians, you know, well, you're not reading your word, 5 hours a day, so you're going to hell. That's the way I was. That's not what we're called to do. We ought to be able to show Christ's love without ever using Jesus Christ, Lord. Can someone look at you, your attitude, and know that that's a Christian woman I'm dealing with? When you get the joy, once I went past that stage and I had the joy where I was no longer beating people over the head with the word, and I was no longer... it's almost an elitist attitude, I'm holier than you are. I really had that attitude. And Christ had to put his finger on that in me. And when he did, I realized that my screaming Jesus did not make me more Christ-like. What made me more Christ-like was to show Jesus without even saying his name. I had a woman come up to me once and said to me, after I went through that period, it took me about a year and a half, after I went through that period of being self-righteous, came up to me, and she was going through some issues in her life, really bad issues, marital problems, financial problems, problems with her kids. And she asked me if I would meet her for lunch one day, and she said, I know you're a Christian. She said, would you pray with me? Nothing else she said after that did me more blessing. She saw in the way I walked that I must have been a Christian, and she asked me to pray. I had not, in this particular job, I was in a new department, I had not mentioned Jesus. I had not talked about going to church. But it was something about me, and it's not about me, it's about who is in me that shone through, that she felt comfortable enough asking for prayer. I would love to say that was my attitude and that's what I've shown all of the times of my life, but it hasn't been. Sometimes I get rolled up into the pressures, and when someone says something to me, I guess I can come across pretty ugly. I don't want to deal with you right now. Or sometimes I got caught up in the gossip mill. You know, you heard that XYZ is having an affair, and I'm sitting there listening to this. I didn't always walk that Christ-like life. But guess what? You won't either. But this is one of those, he allows us to get remedial training. We continue to fail, and he keeps teaching us until we're perfected in that area, and he moves on to something else, and we fail, and he gives us remedial training, and we fail, and then we are perfected, and we move on to something else. But we have to know that, first of all, when I see the Proverb 31 woman, there is no exclusion for a woman working outside of the household. I don't see that. I went so far as to look at not only just working outside of the household, how did Christ treat women? There was Lydia, the seller of purple. She was what we would call a millionaire. And she sold cloth and material. And she took the profits from that and supported Jesus' ministry. What about Priscilla and her husband? Now let me tell you, back in biblical times, when you wrote something about a husband and wife, the husband's name always came first because he's the head of household. In this particular passage, and there are several books on it, Priscilla's name is first because Priscilla led that household church. She was the leader of that church. What about Mary sitting at the feet of Jesus? Some translations called her a disciple of Jesus. When all the 12 were sitting there, Mary was sitting there as well. So it appears to me that our Savior's attitude toward women, not the same as we see in the world. Some parts of the world. He respected women. He elevated women. He had women in leadership roles. But sometimes the world will tell you, with laying the guilt, you need to be home. You need to be cleaning out that junk drawer. You need to be cleaning your closet. You need to be cooking your husband, having a hot meal left, waiting for your husband when he walks in the door. That's what the world tells us. I'm not saying those things are wrong. I don't think my husband ever got a hot meal from me. I don't think my husband ever got a meal from me. He was the cook in the family, okay? He was the cook in the family. Hey, look, you need to know where your gift is. It is not my gift. I have a friend that loves to bake. And when she gets all flustered sometimes, she'll do an Italian cream cheese cake. Okay, that's from scratch. Okay, that's a lot of work. No? And bless her, I love her, I love to eat her cake. But if you're waiting for me to bake you a cake, you got a long way coming. I don't do cooking. I don't love a nice kitchen, though. I love a pretty kitchen. Don't dirty it up. Don't dirty it up. It needs to look pretty. You know? But if that's your gift, go with your gift. But if God has opened the door for you to be in the marketplace, then be there without guilt. And do what you're called to do while you're there. You're called to be a blessing. Now that we have that settled, how many now feel comfortable that there is no preclusion in the Bible that keeps you from being a working woman? Are you comfortable with that? Do you still have any guilt? Then don't let anybody put guilt on you. Don't receive it. Don't receive it. And God may only have you there for a little while. God may have you there for 40 years, like he had me in the marketplace. But whatever God has you doing, do it in excellence. Now let's look at some of the challenges that, and talk about some of the challenges. And I'd like for you to chime in on this, because when you share what's going on with you, hearing from other Christian women who are going through the same things help. It really helps. That's why this group is going to be really good for Christian women in the workplace. Feeling judged by other Christians. We've just talked about that. But let me ask you, what do you believe might be the motivation by other Christians judging you because you're working?
If their experience is different, it may just be part of justifying what they're going through. You know, they want to kind of project and have you be in the same situation they're in. Maybe.
Because I'm doing this, you ought to be doing it my way. Yeah. Anyone else?
Just want to say, feel free to share openly, and any of your responses will not be recorded.
Okay. What about having enough time for husband and family? Whoa, that's good. That's good. How can you, I'd love to hear some of your input on how can you make sure that your husband and your children get what they need from you, the time they need from you. Anyone care to share?
I'm making sure he cooks dinner.
Good. That frees you up a lot of time. Okay. Anyone else? Well, and to expand on that, sometimes guys, not a negative comment, they still need training. You know, they still need training. Understanding that if you're in the workplace, helping him to understand that the household chores need to be shared. There are women who have husbands who work and they work, but when he comes home, he sits, he tinkers in the garage, or he watches television, or whatever he does. And she has to come in and cook, clean, take care of the kids. Just having honest, open communication with your spouse. Did you hear me say honest, open communication? Please don't make him feel less than. And don't use the terms you don't, or you make me feel. Use the term I. When I come in, I am tired, and I would feel better if we can share the workload. Use I rather than you. You points the finger. I tells him about your feelings. Okay? So try that. So having him help. Anything else? Any way that define time for your family. What do you need to do?
If it's possible, maybe at least one full day where you can be completely present with them and not answering work stuff. Maybe like a Saturday or something.
Fantastic. How many of you have, if you're married, do you have date nights or date days?
Just look at us.
I encourage you. Do a date night. Just do it. Even if you only, some people have it weekly, but if you can do it maybe twice a month, do a date night. Just you and the hubby. If you have kids, ship them off to grandma. But just you spend some time with your husband. Okay.
Henry, yeah.
I have something to share too. Just along the lines with your husband, I found being married 31 years, I guess something like that now, that it took me a long time to realize this, but just how important intimacy is to the husbands. I mean, for the wives, that kind of gets pushed to the wayside, but making that a big priority really makes him feel loved and special.
That's a good point. When you read the scriptures, it tells the husband to love his wife, but it tells the wife to respect her husband. That's building his ego. That's what, in whatever area, you need to build his ego. That's his machismo. That's what men is about. Because that's how God created them. We need to feel secure and loved. He needs to feel like a man. I'm the hunter, yeah. You know, and then you stroke him, you pat him on the back, yeah, baby, you did well. But we have to do that. Yes.
One thing that I do that's very important to me now with my husband and my kids, and really I try to do this even with friendships, but I get off my phone. So when I'm driving from work to home, I will make a phone call that might be to a friend, or I might be doing planning something like this after hours or whatever. And I've got all this stuff going on, but I will actually drive around the block in my neighborhood so that when I pull up in that driveway, I'm not on that phone. Because I want, when they see me, I want them to have my undivided attention. And I used to walk into my house on the phone and be on the phone for 5, 10, 20 minutes after I had come in, juggling, putting my bags down, kissing my kids while I'm talking to somebody, going into the back, kicking my shoes off, doing everything, finishing this conversation, and 20 minutes later, my kids are sitting on the couch watching TV, my husband's plundering, doing something, and I get off the phone and say, hey. Well, that doesn't really show them that they're much of a priority in my life, and so I've made a rule that I get off the phone, and any of my friends who talk to me on the phone, they're nodding their heads, they know. I take it very seriously, and I'll be straight up rude. I'll just say, I pulled into my driveway, I have to go now. You know, and I just hang up, because when my kids see me, I want my eyes on them.
That's great. That's great. You know, there are times when we feel that we need to give more time to our family, when really we need to give quality time to our family. You can be with them for 8 hours in a row, and if you're distracted or you're not paying any attention to them, you might as well not be there. You know, so focus on them. That's a good point. Your focus is on them. Great. Okay. Not feeling like women my age in the 30s understand my work stress and demands. Supporting myself in normal life demands. Yeah, the normal life demands, bills, finances, and you feel completely alone. When you said women in their 30s, or the 30-somethings in the workplace, I think has a very stressful role. Because at that time, you normally have your husband, you have young children, You're building your career, so therefore, whether you have children or not, if you're in the workplace, this drive to the next level in my career. What do I need to do next? Where do I need to be? What project is this? Working on this project gonna advance my career like I want to? So you have career worries. You may have family or husband worries. You may very well have financial worries, because if you're in a job, just got into a job like that, you're not at the top level of pay. So you have a lot of stress when you're in your 30s working. I would say that find women who are in your same place, good place, right here. Find women who have those same kinds of struggle, and let them be people that you can bounce things off of. They can be your iron sharpens iron. They can be one that prays for you. I remember a friend of mine, we worked together, and we were both going through the same things at the same time. We were in the same office, and her husband was was self-employed. My husband had his own business as well, and we were going through financial struggles. We had kids at home. We had job pressures. Every Thursday, she and I would take the conference room. And we would pray, we would intercede, we would pray about our financial situation, we'd pray over each other's children, each other's spouse. We did a lot of praying and holding each other up. And that took us through some very stressful times. Find someone that you can pray with. And you don't have to, and I don't tell you to dump all your problems on that person. Look, I'm having a challenge today. Will you pray with me? You don't have to give them all the dirty linen, but I need prayer. So, and on the opposite end, if someone comes to you and asks for prayer like that, if they don't share all that's going on, please don't try to plow and dig that field. If they didn't share it, then you just pray. The Holy Spirit knows. The Holy Spirit knows. And keep me on time, because I don't want to keep folks 5 minutes. Some good ones. This is good. Maintaining Christian convictions in a cutthroat business environment. Ooh, I like that. I like that. Yeah, there are times when you want to say the expletive deletes out there. But how do you do that? If you wouldn't mind sharing, if someone has been in a cutthroat environment in the office, how do you keep from letting that kind of attitude overflow in you so that you react like them? What do you do? Does anyone have a tip?
I think a personal mission statement is so important. Because that's the only thing that got me through owning a business and having many, many opportunities to take on jobs and things that would have been useful in the short term, but it would have gotten some really murky, maybe even illegal water in the long term. Really just knowing what our long-term mission was, and then personally what your long-term mission is. It's hard. I mean, it's just always available, and it seems like everybody else is getting ahead because they take those opportunities.
And keeping in mind what the Word says about you, and what promises the Word gives to you. Because sometimes even as Christians, we see the people doing things that they shouldn't do, and they keep getting advanced. They lie, they cheat, they steal, and they get promoted. And we can get discouraged when things like that happen. Because you say, I'm doing the best I can. I'm being honest, I'm being forthright, and I'm being left behind. But what we need to do is keep before us that God goes before us and He's our rear guard. If we stand firm in Him, then it doesn't matter what they do. You will be promoted when your time comes. You will. But when you start thinking, oh, there she goes, well, maybe I can do that too. No, you can't do that too. You can't do that too. So keep in mind that God has given you a promise, precious promises, and that you don't have to do it the way the world does it to be elevated. to be promoted. If you do it the way God has outlined for us to do it, promotion will come. The word says promotion comes from the Lord. So if it comes from the Lord, if you do it God's way, then promotion will come. Okay? Keep that in mind. Promotion comes from who? The Lord. Great. Okay. Talk about work-life balance and household responsibilities. Well, y'all know what I said about that. Okay. Here's another one might be having energy to work out. Now, you can tell I don't work out, right? Having energy to work out. I have finally come to the conclusion I need to do that because this is a vessel. See, what does the word say about this body? This is a vessel of the Lord, okay? I have to tell myself, take this vessel to the gym. To the gym. And I've been saying it for a long time, but God, forgive me, I didn't take it to the gym last 2-3 years. But I am going to go take this vessel to the gym. Okay? You just have to, look, I said, lay it out there. Lord, forgive me. I missed it again. But help me, Holy Spirit. I do a lot of that. Juggling time, career, friends. The friend part is key. We need friends in our lives. We really do. Family is premier, God first family, but friends, you need friends in your life. Sometimes you can get isolated, but keep someone, and maybe even one or two someone in your life who can speak into your life. Because sometimes we get off track, and if there's nobody to talk to us about being off track, then we stay off track. And we get so far out that it's hard to bring us back in. But what I would say is, if you're going to have a friend, all of my friends are sort of outspoken. And if I don't want to know the truth, then I don't say anything to them, because they're going to tell me. I have one friend who's German. She's going to tell you whether you ask or not. She's just going to put it out there. But all of my friends are like that. Because I'm that kind of person. When I make up my mind that this is the way to go, then I start putting things in place to go that way. So I need strong voices in my life. Says, no, I don't think you should be doing that, and here's why. Or, Henry, you're wrong. You're wrong. So have people in your life who can speak into your life, speak truth into your life. And do one more question, and then we're going to pray. Avoiding gossip. It's hard in the workplace because you hear all sorts of things, and it sometimes is really, oh, she did that? Oh, tell me all about it. What we should do is not partake in the gossip. Don't even sit there. Now, it's hard. It's hard, especially when it's juicy. It's really hard not to. But I would say make a commitment to yourself that if anyone in my presence start talking about others or gossiping about others, I don't care whether it's true or not. That's their business. Then walk away. The minimum, walk away. If you're bold enough, then say something like, maybe you shouldn't be talking about this individual, or you shouldn't be talking about their personal life or something like that. But if you're not bold enough to do that, or you think it'll cause offense, just walk away. Make an excuse. I have something else I need to do, and leave the environment. Pretty soon, they'll get the point that whenever we start talking about people, she leaves. They'll get it. Do not participate in gossip. Do not. And when you catch yourself participating in gossip, and I used to be, I loved the gossip. I used to love the gossip. And when God convicted me of that, I had to go back, and it was so humiliating. I went back to the people that I was not only listening to the gossip, I was putting some pieces in too. And I had to go back to them and apologize to them and told them that I was sorry for saying things that I should not have said. And I asked their forgiveness. And I felt, I said, Lord, do I really have to do that? Can I just not do it anymore? He made me. I was such a pressure on me, I had to go and apologize to them, that I even participated in it. Do whatever it takes to get yourself out of the situation where you don't find yourself talking about your boss, your co-workers, your neighbors, the woman who sits next to you in the church, with the short dress, legs crossed. Okay, don't go there. Anyway, wish we had more time. These are great questions. If you have any questions of me, if not, I want to close in prayer.
Yes, and then I'll just say a couple of little announcements.
Father, we just thank you that the example that you've given us of the Proverbs 31 woman clearly shows us that there is a place for women in the workplace. We're expected to do it in excellence. We're expected to do it in an attitude of, I am capable. I am equipped. I've been given gifts and talents by my Father, and I will use them. But Father, we also know that it's not just for financial blessings while we're there. We have been blessed by you in the workplace to be a blessing to others, to show them Christ without preaching, but by our lifestyle, by our responses, by our attitude, and the way we carry ourselves. For people to say, that is a woman of excellence. I want to be like her. Father, I thank you for the women you have here today. Bless them, redeem this time, let them grow in everything you've given them to do in the workplace, that they might raise up and be called blessed by their employers, their family, and their friends. In Jesus' name we thank you. Amen. Thank you very much for giving me this honor.
All right, who could stay for like 5 more hours? I see a retreat in our future. But I am just so thankful, and I'm very excited. I have to announce our May speaker. We are planning to have Mayor Elise Parton, the mayor of Casey, as our speaker in May, and it's going to be an after-hours event. The tentative date right now is May 26th, and the location is to be determined. So if you just mark your calendars, we'll do a similar format from 5:30 to 6, kind of arrive, get settled, and then 6 to 7, Elise will share with us, and we actually might wiggle it a little bit. I might post something on the Facebook page or invite about coming at between 5 and 5:30 because she has to be gone by 7. Her son is playing baseball, right? Yeah, so she's juggling those responsibilities too. Also, I want to recognize a couple of people or groups. First of all, if you look on the tables and you see this really cool little logo, do you guys see it? Isn't it amazing? Stephanie Hooser from Riverside Community Church is the graphic artist who did this, and so we are very, very thankful to her. And if any of you guys know of anyone who needs a graphic artist for an event, keep her in mind. I have her contact information. Also, I want to just tell you guys about where our church is, Riverside Community Church, which is the church leadership that really supported getting this project off the ground. We are on Divine Street at 2925 Divine Street, and you can find us at riversidecommunitychurch.org if you're interested in knowing more. And then lastly, I just want to say that Henri didn't talk about this at all, but she is the executive director of the Greater Columbia Community Relations Council, which is doing amazing work in the community, reconciling things that are broken. is the best way that I can put it. And so if you have not heard of CRC, or if you would like to get involved with CRC, that is under Henri's leadership, their website is comrelations.org. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay, comrelations.org. So I just encourage anybody to learn about CRC. I think there are a lot of people that would love to know more about the type of work that you're doing, but that just simply don't know that it's even there. So comrelations.org. And I think this venue worked really well for a lunch meeting. There is a basket right there, and there are some little blank pieces of paper. If you have comments, suggestions for a speaker for the future, if you want to suggest times, locations, or if you just want to make a comment about what you think would be beneficial to you, or what you thought about today, or anything like that, if you'll just write it on that paper, fold it up, and put it in that basket, that's going to help us moving forward so that we can make some decisions about that. And for anybody listening, feel free to contact me via the Facebook page to let me know what your thoughts are. All right, thank you so much.
Wonderful first meeting.
Yay!